Dr. Jameel Ahmed Khan, I'd like to ask your views first. What do you think and what measures should be taken this time so this dialogue should become a success and holds positive outcomes?
Well, basically, we have to pick it up from where we had left. And in order to do that, we have to really rely on the powers, the world powers which are really reckoned to be the main allies of India. So, and that is the United States, basically. And you heard what Mr. Miller had said during the press conference when he was asked a question in this regarding this matter. So, I personally feel that I think we had so many engagements with the India, but somehow, and very unfortunate that during Modi regime there were certain incidents, particularly 5th of August, Article 370 was abrogated and Article 35 was abrogated. That became the main stumbling block in the CBM, what we were already progressing, and we could have progressed it quite well. But United States now in the current geopolitical landscape, they seem to be interested that the friction between these two nuclear armed powers is reduced, and they are able to, these two nuclear armed powers are able to really iron out some of their those soaring points. And because of that factor, I personally feel, and then the change of leadership in our country, where the Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has taken over, and there's so many people like myself, we feel that probably they are going to again pick it up from where they had left. And Modi, after winning this new election, it is assumed and it is felt that perhaps he would also have some flexibility in resuming the CBM or resuming those dialogues. We know that Pakistan has a strategic location. Pakistan is an ally of the United States, although there have been some humps in that at times, but by far we have been having relations and continuous good relations, and sometimes little friction with the United States, and we've been allies with the United States in so many counts, and particularly after 9/11 on war on terror and some of the other common interests where we had military-to-military cooperation, where we had the joint exercises, where we have economic side, investment of the United States, and more importantly, United States interest, particularly with regard to the containment of China. And the United States is going in a very subtle manner, so is the case with China. And we are quite clear that we like to maintain the friendship with both the countries, and would like to strike the balance. While striking the balance and while maintaining the relations with both these countries, we would definitely be, Pakistan and India being a nuclear armed countries, and if they are able to sort out some of their these problems and issues and conflicting issues, I guess this region can really flourish a lot. And if we look at the track record of the Nawaz Sharif government previously, it appears that they would at least try to resume the talks. But the main problem with us is, again, what has happened in Kashmir and so many reports on Kashmir. Having that in mind, we totally understand that the United States is cognizant of the fact that India has been violating the minority rights, the human rights, but India is being ignored. And in Kashmir, the human rights violations are being ignored because of geopolitical interest of not only the United States, but its allies as well. Whereas, while Mr. Miller was asked the question about the human rights, he emphasized on human rights, and he said that, yes, we always call upon the countries to ensure about the human rights. But reverting back to India and Pakistan, possible resumption of dialogue and talks. I think we have so many agreements in past. If we try and pick it up from there, 1972 Simla Accord, we had and we probably have tried in past also that cross-border people-to-people contact in which during Musharraf's time there was good progress made, and also military to military the relations could really give us a chance of building the confidence between the two countries with hotlines, with military between the two officers of two sides, and this would also avoid any risk of the accidental conflict between the two nuclear armed countries. So if we have all these factors in our mind, then the trade becomes one of the factors which could definitely the cardinal factor to rely upon. And once some of these points which I've just enumerated, if they are addressed and the dialogue starts, we can then think about the trade.
True.
And obviously, once the trade starts,
yeah, Dr. Jamil, it's a blessing to have a diplomat like you, a seasoned diplomat. Of course, you have highlighted the positive side of bilateral relations between Pakistan and India, and you have rightly pointed out that of course, including Shimla Accord, there are many obviously instances where Pakistan and India actually extended their hand in terms of seeking a dialogue, and I think the sanity has been prevailing and must prevail in future as well. But you have earlier mentioned about the abrogation of 370 and 35A, and of course knowing the fact that abrogation of 370 and 35A not only goes against all of them accords which you were highlighting, it also goes against the resolution 47 of United Nations. In this context, when we are hearing from a capital of one of the mightiest powers of the world, US, that they will be, of course, welcoming any of the negotiations that take place, and they will be willing to, of course, play their role as well. If they are there to play their role, then do you think that they are influential enough in front of India that they can influence India to reverse the abrogation of 370 and 35A, as it is a blatant, blatant action which was taken by India as a state against all of the accords that had taken place between both of the countries?
Yeah, but none of the countries of the world community has really raised a very serious point against this blatant measure which India had taken, which is against all the articles and against all the Security Council resolutions which has been earlier passed and could not be invoked. So yes, those are the violations, but the fact of the matter is then one has to be quite realistic as well, that if the world is not really paying any heed to it, and if there is a geopolitical landscape has really changed so much that India has attained its geopolitical importance, and as I mentioned earlier, that this geopolitical importance India has gained basically by aligning itself with the United States. And United States in its the number one or the most significant foreign policy of United States these days are for the last several years is basically containment of China. So that United States and the China can sort it out and with their allies. So far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan, like India has the best of the best relations with Iran, and India has best of the best relations with the United States. So many other countries, to give the example. But basically, Pakistan has to really navigate itself diplomatically in such a manner that we are able to retain friendship, and not only friendship, we would not be really aligning with any of the pressure group or any of the countries at the cost of the other country. We have our own bilateral relations and which have a history, both with China and with the United States. We should think of developing that. So reverting back to your this point which we have raised, yes, United States is a force to be reckoned with. United States can influence India. United States can always, because in its own interest, geopolitical interest, United States can always create an enabling environment for the two countries to enter into dialogue. Not necessarily that it's going to be to get sorted out in the next few months or maybe next few years, but at least if the dialogue stops, then as Mr. Miller said, that all the points which are the points, all the issues between the two countries, including Kashmir, should be taken up. So once it is discussed parallelly, all these issues, I think some of the issues will succeed in the shortest span of time, and some of the issues we might as well succeed by spending a little more time, because the Kashmir issue has really the Indians have made it so complicated. But one must say that Indians have been able to avoid any kind of world pressure due to a variety of reasons. You may call it a trade influence, you may call it a geopolitical influence, you may call it their efforts to have a bilateral and multilateral engagement, whatever we may call it. But the fact of the matter is they have violated the Security Council resolutions, not one, not two, not three, more than 7 Security Council resolutions they are violating. And despite that, the world is not. We have submitted 131 pages of dossier to the United Nations. The Human Rights Council Commissioner has presented a very big, volumetric report of the violation of Human Rights Commission. And while he was presenting that to the press, the tears started rolling down his cheeks. But still, hardly anything happened, and the world did not really move emotionally or legally. So what is needed to be done is that we should not keep quiet. We should keep pursuing our foreign policy goals. But at the same time, the door of the dialogue we can open, provided Indians they respond to it, and we cannot really all the time initiate it from our side. And countries like United States can, as I said, create an environment, an atmosphere that both countries they sit together and start negotiating. Once they are able to sit together, to start in the new emerging geopolitical scenario, the Modi, I don't think, would remain the same Modi in terms of his rhetoric about the minorities and his rhetoric about the violation of human rights. Probably he would think of, because they are now thinking to become the member of the Security Council. They are now thinking to become the world economic power, succeeding so many other neighboring countries and competing with the China. So if we have all those practice points, they can't really attain their dreams if they keep having conflicts with a nuclear-armed country like Pakistan. They should realize, and there are some realizations among their scholars and among their authors and among their intellectuals. So this time, because of the changed geopolitical landscape, perhaps the Indians would not resist to the dialogue. And then, since we have a different leadership, the leadership which initially had been able to make some breakthroughs in the previous regimes, in 79 or even later on. So it appears that this time there could be, provided we are able to really have a very proactive instance at the bilateral level. If India agrees to it, and if India shows some inclination, we cannot really go and sit on their doorstep to talk to us. But because of the friends like the United States, perhaps India would agree to it.
Dr. Jameel, as the Pakistan Foreign Office spokesperson, they also responded to Matthew Miller's statement. And they said that Pakistan has always said that it would welcome mediation by friendly countries when such a proposal comes to us formally, and only then will we be able to respond. And in the past, we've seen as well Pakistan's returning of the Indian pilot, Abhinandan. Pakistan has always showed friendly gestures, and owing to what Farooq Fatafi just had to say as well, that it should be, it takes two to tango. It cannot be just one side giving in their efforts and the other side just putting up allegations or criticism. What's your take on all of this?
Well, basically the diplomatic advancement, it only takes place once the mutual respect and mutual interest is maintained. So we did extend our goodwill gesture, and once we did not find that we could have that much of response from India, then obviously we cannot really. It looks odd in our diplomatic movements that we keep, requesting any other country that, okay, you come and talk to us. So basically it has to be on the basis of mutual interest and mutual respect that we resume our dialogues or resume our talks. But this gesture, that is although a quit, but it appears that they are going to have formal communication, because obviously the foreign offices in a formal communication, they don't really respond to the tweets and to the totally informal the gestures. But it is a very good start, as we heard the spokesperson of the State Department of the United States. So it's a good start. In fact, we were not expecting that. Although the head of state, they do send their text messages at the assumption of the charge of any new head of the government or head of the state. But due to the kind of tension which we've been having for the past so many years, it was a good gesture, in fact, and one should really appreciate that, and one should pick it up from there, and responding to any formal communication, and if it has come through the informal channel, the Prime Minister, through his own Twitter or informal channel, can always respond to it instead of waiting for the formal communication. When the formal communication is initiated, it will be responded formally. But again, it's ice-breaking move, and this ice-breaking move, because how long can we just freeze all the dialogues and all the movements? Because if we freeze it all together, both these countries would suffer. It's not only one country. And we understand that our economy is not very promising. So obviously we would also have a front of it. While I was the head of the mission in UAE, I had collected some statistics, and we know that about 65% of the goods and services of India are the goods and services of Pakistan. It is repacked and then again exported to India, or India sent it to the UAE, and from UAE it's repacked or again reshipped to Pakistan. Just enhancing so much of freight, enhancing so much of other expensive costs. If there is a trade on, of course, equal terms, then both countries are going to benefit out of it. And then the people of both sides, if there is the previous initiative, people-to-people contact, the bus service and all, if it starts, the people of both sides would be benefited, and the tension would automatically reduce. The cultural exchange, the educational exchange, other exchange programs of the two countries, and that the entire door for various initiatives to open. So far as 370 is concerned, I don't see that it's going to be abrogated anytime soon. It all depends how the Kashmiris, they would definitely, how the Kashmiris, reinstated, and again, I don't see that it's an enforceable future is going to be, reinstated, but if the consistency by the Kashmiris, consistency by Pakistan, consistency by some of the countries, as has been pointed out, China has always been, I don't seem to remember any stage that China went against the interest of Pakistan or even Kashmir. So because we have those common grounds and they would not. Once I describe about the world community, it's other than China. Even Russia did not fully support. But Turkey has been very good proponent of the Kashmir cause. Even in Iran, we must appreciate that they can raising the voice of Kashmir. So some of these countries, they through the public diplomacy, they have done a lot. China in Security Council, yes, they have supported. But the story doesn't end there. It has to be a consistency. It has to be the Security Council has to be moved time and again about its own resolutions for its implementation under Chapter 6 and Chapter 7. That's not being done. And also, the General Assembly